Philosophers and thinkers from Socrates to Albert Camus have pondered upon the question of how to respond when adversity turns our lives upside down. They have suggested that we reframe our questions and alter our perspective. So, this is a skill that is helpful during good times and vital during bad times. So, to make it simple for you to understand, think of again these questions that I had told you earlier: how to endure the unendurable, how to find certainty, or when we are feeling down, then we need to rephrase and think of question like, is the unendurable made up of some bright moments that can give me happiness, right? So this will become clearer to you as I tell you more stories and more examples. So let me share an inspiring story here. In the Summer Olympics held in Barcelona in Spain in 1992, an athlete called Derek Redmond of Great Britain could not complete the 400-meter race. He began well, but around midway he had an injury in his hamstring and he fell down on the track. Now, what surprised everyone was that he got up and started moving towards the finish line. The race had finished, but Derek Redmond was in great pain, but it was obvious that he wanted to finish what he had started. So at that point in time, his perspective on the competition must have changed. It must have been no longer about winning. It must have been about finishing. So the crowd kept cheering for him and gave him a standing ovation when he reached the finish line. This is such an inspiring story, and it tells you a lot about altering our perspective and find joy in that particular activity. Okay. So I'm always fascinated with sports persons. I mean, you just look at them and they are, glowing examples of resilience. They work so hard and yet they are prepared to face defeat. Look at those who participate in Olympics. They have to be prepared to lose after putting in 4 years of practice and training. After all, there are only 3 medals to be won. Not everyone gets them, though everyone wants them. But do these sports persons stop playing because they cannot be sure of winning all the time? They don't. They do not give up on their passion and they just bounce back. After every defeat or after every loss, they don't give up playing. They just bounce back with fresh energy, fresh vigor, fresh determination. This is what psychological resilience is all about. So, Albert Camus has used the Greek mythological character Sisyphus to claim that there is a fundamental conflict between what we want from the universe and what we find in the universe. So let's have a look at this clip. Now, Sisyphus, according to Greek myth, was punished for all eternity to roll a rock up a mountain only to have to see the rock roll back down to the bottom when he reaches the top. So it's a continuous process, and Sisyphus has accepted this reality and continued with his work. So every time he would roll the rock up and then it would just roll back down. Again, he would go down, bring it back up. So this is the punishment which gods have given him, and he is living this life. Camus says that Sisyphus' punishment represents the human condition. So long as Sisyphus accepts that there is nothing more to life than this struggle, then he will search for happiness in it. Similarly, human beings need to search for happiness within the reality they are living in. So this is a very, very important learning. I have lived for 50 years. Believe me, this makes a lot of sense once we learn to accept our reality. And happiness is no longer elusive then, because you will look here and there within your reality and you will find moments of happiness. So, how I have interpreted this philosophy is like when an athlete loses in Olympics, she should search for happiness in the realization that she's one among the chosen few to represent her country. Or whatever be the situation in my home, there can be some illness or a job loss perhaps, but will taking a walk every day give me some relaxation as I listen to the sounds of birds? Can I read books to learn new things or look at things from a fresh perspective? So, I wish to share the stories of two of my inspirations to add on to my interpretation of Camus' philosophy. Okay, so she is Frida Kahlo, and hers is a story of resilience. Born in 1907, she suffered from polio as a child, and as a teenager, she nearly died in a bus accident after suffering multiple fractures, a shattered pelvis, and a dislocated shoulder. She passed away at the age of 47, and in her lifetime, she had 30 surgeries. The world remembers her today for her contribution to Mexican art form and for her portraits of pain and passion in bold, vibrant colors. So, Frida used all her pain and fragile life situations to develop great psychological resilience by using creativity and became the epitome of mental strength and determination. And the second inspiration that I wish to talk about is Dr. Stephen Hawking, an eminent cosmologist, a brilliant theoretical physicist. In my opinion, he dazzled the world with his views on the mysteries of our universe, and this was amidst encumbering health issues. In his book, My Brief History, he has explained how the prospect of an early death urged him to focus his thoughts on intellectual breakthroughs. In on page 47 of the same book, he writes how it was a shock when he realized that he had an incurable disease. This was at the age of 21 when he was told that he has a particular disease because of which he may not live for long and he will be disabled. So he asked his question, this question, like many of us always do when we hear such news, why me, right? So he also asked, why me? Why is this happening to me? Well, during his stay in the hospital, he then watched a young boy in the bed opposite his. That boy lost his life to leukemia. And Stephen Hawking writes in the book that he knew that the boy had been in a lot of pain, and that's when he realized that there were people who were worse off than him because his condition did not make him sick, did not give him much pain really. So he would always think of that boy whenever he felt inclined to be sorry for himself. So, towards the end of the book, he mentions that while he did feel let down at the age 21 when he learned about his illness and even accepted that his life and career was over, then something happened. I mean, he kept on working, and even his disability did not stop him, and he went on to live a fruitful life. And 50 years later, he realized that he was a renowned scientist, respected all over the world. And that's in his book, he admits that he's quietly satisfied with his life. So, what a wonderful, positive outlook. So, whenever I'm in doubt, I like to go through the book. It has always inspired me to build my psychological resilience with positive thinking and self belief.